Unique York. New York.
Hi guys.
New York. Okay.
Sure.
Oh.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. We're recording a little video, so we're gonna have you go upstairs, and we'll be up in just a minute. Okay?
I need to get something.
Marriage and kids. this
That's
is what we're
it's all
talking about.
What do you need,
Yes.
buddy? What's up? What do you need?
So,
Okay,
okay, we're gonna
answer. What do you need?
Okay, bye.
Okay, go upstairs, please.
hi guys. This is my brother Dave and his beautiful wife Alicia.
Hello.
They are visiting from Florida, and that's Kyle.
Oh, that's me.
And I'm Dawn.
Good, thanks.
And we've been doing these for a couple months.
6 weeks, something.
And today we're just doing a special one because they're here and we want to talk about marriage with kids because we don't have any kids. So thought why not?
We do.
So
and
they have
ours
kids,
interrupting.
and we may have a lot of interruptions because there's a lot of kids in the house.
Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah. So
So
I'm
we're gonna
going
fix
to
it.
deal with this situation.
Wonderful.
anyway, while we're going, oh look, Daniel's watching.
Okay, no.
Oh, hey.
If you have any comments or questions or thoughts, you can put them on the live. We'll try to get to them at the end if we have time. But anything else
So-
before we start?
So the plan for today is just a Q&A session with these guys.
Yeah.
As we've said many times in our lives, we don't personally have children or full-time children. So we
We can talk about a lot of
wanna get
marriage
insight.
subjects, but
Yeah.
we can't talk about this.
want to get insight that way. As we've said with everything else, we are not counselors. Dave and Alicia are also not counselors.
I am
We're
a
just-
counselor.
No.
Dave,
No.
Dave's
We
Wow.
We are just
not
married
experts.
couples wanting to help other married couples. So we're sharing what we've learned by being married.
Yeah.
What else you got?
No, I think we're just gonna start.
Okay.
So, tell us how long you've been married.
14 and a half years.
14 and a half years. Together a year and a half before that, so 16 total.
Okay. And how many kids do you have?
2.
Glad they both answered the same.
And Dave's like, oh, I have the other one.
Good.
How long were you married before you had your first one?
2.5 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that was a good enough time?
That's a good question.
I would never have done less than that because I feel like it was really important for us to have had that experience of getting to know each other and bonding and learning how we tick as a couple before adding the craziness of a child into that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Like there's Dave Ramsey's a Christian financial counselor, and he has a phrase where he says you need to spend the first year of marriage learning how close to live to your mother-in-law, which is 100% true. Now you throw a baby in on top of that, then everything just gets thrown in the mix.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to really make sure that first couple of years you're really establishing yourself. Now that's not to say that if you get married and you have a kid right away, anything will be wrong.
Right.
I think everybody's a little bit different, but if I had a preference, I would definitely say give it a couple of years, 2 or 3 years to kind of get your feet wet.
There's a
Child's
child
trying
at the
to
door.
You can't come in. It's locked.
Yeah.
So kind of leading off of that, how was your first year with a newborn? And be as
No, we're
honest
done.
as possible.
We will come in. Oh,
How was our first year with a newborn?
it was interesting. The one thing that I'll be completely
Do it.
Yeah, why don't you be
transparent
honest?
Yes.
is so let's see. So we had the first kid in 2008. So late 2008. So October 2008. So 2010. Right, 2010 is when what happens is what a lot of women don't understand is or not ready for, and men are definitely not ready for this. But as soon as as soon as woman has baby, she goes into mommy mode. It is now care and protection. It is like her focus is now shifted from daddy
Yeah.
to the baby. So 2010 was probably our worst year as far as sex is concerned.
that was one of my
there
questions.
were there were plenty of
Yeah.
times where I'd go to her and I said, "Look, it's been 12 days." And she's like, "It has not been 12 days." I'm like, "Let me show you."
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote it down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so that's definitely one thing that neither of us were prepared for. I was very much not prepared for that, and that was rough. It took a solid year to kind of work through that one and find our way back. We found our way back.
Well, because you're assuming a new position. Now, married couples should make each other or their spouse the number one, but there are times where that's going to happen, where you are going to become number two, and you have to accept that.
To a degree. I still think the marriage is definitely the thing you have to make. If your marriage is not healthy, your family won't be healthy.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
So and there's been times when we got so focused on the kids, they'll be texting her, calling her, whatever, and it's like, listen, we haven't had a date in 6 months, you know, like, and that's not okay because we have to spend time with ourselves.
We're busy.
If you're knocking on the door, this is what.
one of
Okay,
the
that's the other
children.
thing you'll find out with parenting is that being a parent is like having Tourette's.
It is. You try to have a conversation, and every few words is interrupted by "Mommy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy."
I love Jesus. Leave us alone. Stop standing on your brother.
Yes.
We will come out when we are done. Go back upstairs. I think they are now turning this into a game.
Probably.
Good call.
Give us
Thank
a few
you.
minutes. Okay. How far apart are Siler and Kaylin?
They are 5 years and 1 month and 6 days.
How many minutes?
I can't
She
tell
is
you
an
that.
admin.
I can't tell you that. They're 5 years apart.
Do you like that you waited that long, or
Honestly, I would say I would definitely recommend having a little closer together if you can.
Yeah.
Now we did have her youngest sister had their kids pretty close together. So you had like newborn, and then when the newborn was about 12 or 18 months or whatever, the next one came along, and that kind of got difficult
they're
because
15 months apart.
you still got like this one's barely learning to walk, and this one's an infant, so it's hard to
Yeah.
do that now. When
Yeah.
the nice thing is, you know, our daughter. When she was 5, she's at an age where I can be like, hey, could you please go get his bottle out of the fridge or whatever, and she
Right.
has enough wherewithal to know how to do that, so she was able to help take care of him.
Right. She was very much a helper and wanted to help, but I was also very, very protective and had a hard time relinquishing control because that's just me.
Yeah.
But I did allow her some opportunities to contribute and help out. She was very, very helpful to me, partially more on things relating to me than things relating to her brother, because, you know, again, that protective side really kind of took over with me a lot more. But I liked their gap, but we had actually tried having a baby probably in that 2010 year.
The bad year.
And then, because at that point in time we had discussed it and decided, you know, let's give it a try, and things just didn't happen right away. And then we both came to a point where we realized God was
They're
totally
they're
in it
fun.
and not allowing us to get pregnant for a reason, because we had hit a position where we really weren't ready at that point. So
Yeah.
then we stopped trying again and worked more on us because we needed to do that at that point. And then we were ready again, and then we have babies that are almost exactly 5 years apart.
So you talked a little bit about working more on just the two of you as a sole thing. What are the things that you guys do? How do you guys make time for your relationship? What kind of things do you enjoy doing just alone together?
Honestly, sometimes it's just as simple as going out and having a meal by yourself where you don't have other people to take care of in that process. But it's also something as simple as just one thing we have tried to do. We haven't been extremely consistent with it for the duration of our relationship, but trying to have couch time together every day where we have dedicated time, even if it's just 10 minutes, to tell the kids, kind of like right now, we need 10 minutes, you don't interrupt, and we just have, you know, if it's 10-minute window, you know, I talk for 5, he talks for 5, we just kind of, we unpack our days a little bit in as much as you can do in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
But we try to have that dedicated time where we can have a conversation and it's not constantly interrupted, and showing the kids that we are working on ourselves.
So somebody with a newborn, how do you suggest they do that? Same thing?
Well,
You just-
I don't think newborn
Or like
is that
crazy
difficult. I
toddler.
remember when Kaylin was newborn, I would take her and I would lay her next to me, get her nails done in, and I would sit and play video games. It's like it's really,
Yeah.
it's really not, they don't require much info.
With a newborn, you really have to capture the moment of availability
Yeah.
and seize that opportunity, because they do sleep a lot.
True.
And especially if you sleep train. See, there's another lesson there. Read Baby Wise.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Both of our babies were sleeping through the night within the first 2 months, I think.
Nice.
And we also made it a rule. Mommy and Daddy's bed is sacred. It is not a place where the kids sleep. And that's something that we chose right from day one, that that's not a space where the kids come to sleep, but maybe it's the Saturday morning and they come into the room after we've woken up and we have like family cuddle time or whatever.
Okay.
That's a really those have been some really beautiful times for us. It usually ends up with a wrestling match and me kind of getting out of that like space, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
But that is one of those rules that we created straight from day one. Is mommy and daddy's bed is sacred space. It's just for us to sleep in because they need their environment to get used to that. And if they can't get used to their own environment, sleeping on their own in the future is going to be a problem.
It's basically giving the option of if you don't feel safe in your room, come and go to our room. And it's like, but then you're basically saying, come feel safe in our room, so you'll never feel safe in your room.
Right. So this isn't one of my questions, but like, what would you say to a couple that has not set that rule up and now they're 3 or 4 years in and they've got a baby that won't leave their room?
It's difficult. We actually have a friend. We have several friends.
We do.
Who have that. It's like, their kids 3-4 years old and they still sleep in the bed with them, and some of it is like it's their connection. So what I'm finding is it's not necessarily that the kid doesn't want to sleep by themselves. It's mom and dad have now gotten used to having a baby with them.
Honestly, to each his own, and that's a decision that you have to make as a family. That's just one thing that we decided is we needed to have that separation. We needed to have that space where we could be ourselves and we could.
It's very hard to have sex with the baby in the bed.
It is.
Well, talking about sex, not that I want to talk to my brother about sex, but what changed for you guys as far as sex in your relationship after kids? We already talked about 2010. That was a bad year.
Yeah. Really, the spontaneity of it.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can be a lot more spontaneous when you don't have an extra person in the house or an extra 2 people in the house. Yeah. So spontaneity really took a change or took a shift.
Well, and it's hard because I've always said I'm more the girl in the relationship. I'm not the hey, you ready to go? Like I can't just flip it on. It's like, listen, I need some cuddling and I need some. I need
to tell me nice things.
Tell nice things about stuff. But so because of that, it's very hard because it's like, okay, baby's asleep. All right, so we have time, and it's like, wait, what?
And go.
But I need romancing. So
you just gotta find like a new rhythm.
We did. Yeah. We really had to find a rhythm. We had to learn how to communicate with each other in a whole different way.
Still learning.
Yeah. And really, we are 14 years in, and
that's a lifetime of
right. Well, that's the thing too. It's like people are 10, 12 years into it, and they're like, "Listen, we should be able to communicate this by now." And it's like we're 14 years in, and we're still like. Yeah, it's like wait. It's like for instance, I'm a water tester. I'm constantly testing the waters. So I'll be sitting on the couch and I'll send her a text, be like, "Your butt looks really good." Send, and I'll look over and she'll look up, look at the message, put it back down, and go back to cooking. I'm like, okay, so we're not doing this tonight. Okay, that's fine.
Got it.
And then like we're getting in bed. She lays in bed and she goes, "So are you interested in doing something?" And it's like, wait, that's on the table. I sent you the message earlier and you didn't. It's like. So it's completely 2 different wavelengths. So she's a very analytical thinker, where she goes, I want to get cooking done, get the kids in bed, and then it's okay, now I'm ready. Where I'm going, but we can be playful through all of that. And it's like, so it's trying to find that constant balance, and it's just constant communication, and that
makes sense. Yeah. So we talked about togetherness. How do you guys make time for yourselves alone? You said you like playing the games, but
self-care.
How do you make that work?
Well, usually it's so kids go to bed at 8, usually by 8:30, and then it's like we tend to have like a show we'll watch or something. Or for instance, we're both involved in our church youth group. I lead the serve team, so I oversee the ushers and greeters and stuff. So there are times when we sit down, like, look, I have this leadership party I have to throw. Let me bounce some ideas off you. We had a game night for the youth group recently, so I came up with games. She helped me refine the games because I suck at the logistics of the games. I'm like, hey, I have this game where we just throw stuff at each other. And she goes, okay, well, what if they should be soft things?
What are the rules?
We need paramedics. Yeah. So like there'll be times when we'll sit and we'll have conversations about that. Yeah. Now, here's where our struggle is that I'll sit down, we'll have that conversation. It'll take 2 hours. And I'm like, we had time together, we bonded, that kind of stuff. She goes, wait a minute, but that was engaging my brain. I didn't have a chance to shut my brain off, so I don't feel like we had us time. I'm like, but the time we had us time. We were just talking about this legit. Yeah, but that
perspective.
Yeah,
it's how one person feels.
And for me that was a struggle because that was my day-to-day life. I worked for my church, and in administrative things. So I was always that analytical thinker and coming up with the ways to make the ideas work that everybody else had. I've never really been the idea person, but I can make somebody else's idea work. So it kind of brought work into my home life, and that made it more difficult for me to consider that as decompression time, because I'm still in work mode in my brain. So we've had to have a few conversations about how that can't be an every night thing. There needs to be some separation so that we both feel like we're decompressing in our own way. So
well, and then our relationship is a little different in the fact that because she works at the church, and because all of our friends pretty much are from church, every time we have friends over, it's automatically goes to church talk, because that's what we all have in common.
Yeah.
So it's basically like she can't ever escape work.
It's shop talk all the time.
And then of course we do the stereotypical marriage thing of like, let's go out on a date. Now, tonight we're not talking about kids or work. Okay. And we sit down and we go,
well, what do we talk about?
Right.
So we just had to learn how to navigate those waters to make it not feel worky. It's like we can talk about things, we can discuss how we're feeling about things, but let's not plan something on a date. Because again, my brain is always planning this, that, or the other. It's whether it's my to-do list for the next day or the upcoming vacation or the upcoming event at the church. That's just what it became. So we had to figure out how to navigate those waters.
So it's intention.
Absolutely. We have to be
thing.
very intentional, but with that comes communication.
Yeah.
You cannot expect to have a successful marriage or parenting relationship without communicating with each other.
actually, there is one thing that we started doing, haven't done it in a while, but something I nicknamed a grievances date, where basically kids go to grandma's house,
It's actually
and then
fantastic.
and over the course of 3 months to a year, however long it takes, I have a list of things on my phone. I don't like it when Alicia criticizes me in front of the kids. Okay, so I write that down. So then basically in a neutral spot or in a neutral zone where we are not in the heat of anger, it was like sit down and go, okay, what do you have on your list? And then she writes it, we talk about it. Okay, that's the resolution. Okay, here's what I had. I don't like when you insult me in front of the kids because it makes me feel this way. She's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Tell me when I do that. Okay, all right, so there's the resolution. Then you work through all those things. And usually by the end, you're pretty hot for each other. I don't know how it works.
It's true though.
You're forming some sort of intimacy in that
You
communication.
do. You really
and
do.
honesty.
Coming to
And you're level-headed at that moment. So
You
there's
are.
no like,
for sure.
Stop
It,
it. Put
it's,
your hand up.
it has
Put your
really
hand
helped
up.
us to bond and
check.
come closer together, for us to be able to talk about something that bothers us in a neutral environment and come to a resolution, and then potentially even come up with like signals or words that we would use to say, okay, this is a warning that that's happening again, and try to fix it as it's happening the next time, so that we can come up with so we can correct it on the spot, rather than saying, well, you did this just like 10 minutes ago. Well, I can't fix it now because I needed to be able to say, you know what, kids, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that I shouldn't have said that to your dad, and apologize to him publicly. It goes a really long way when you can apologize to your spouse in front of your children, because that teaches them the right way to have a relationship too.
And then it's okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. That it's okay to say you're sorry.
yeah.
And it's okay to make mistakes as long as you correct them yourself.
And which is why the whole couch time thing is so important, is because it's like it's like we're not talking to you for 15 minutes, and they and as soon as you set that limit, they come up every 10 seconds. Like eventually you push them away, because it's telling you that our relationship is number one.
Yeah.
It's like, and if our relationship doesn't succeed, your relationship with us doesn't succeed.
Boundaries are healthy.
Oh yeah,
So-
they very much are.
Well, I had one more question, but I'm not going to ask it. I'm just going to say, if somebody is like just about to have a newborn and they're brand new to marriage, maybe they're a year or two in or whatever, what would your best relationship advice be as a married couple, like just bringing a baby into their marriage?
I would.
What do you wish somebody would have told you?
Okay, so I'll say from the male perspective, and you can say from the female perspective. From the male perspective, I would say, guys, you have to be ready for the fact that there is a 6 or so week healing period where things can't happen.
You said it was a man's perspective.
It's a month and a half from hell. So
It's not fun for her either. I'm
be
just gonna
prepared for
say.
that. And going back to what I was saying
She's the one
earlier
healing.
about when women shift from wife to mother, keeping in mind her attention is going to shift to the baby. It's not it's not in a way to harm you. It's not like you're not important anymore. It's like I feel the need to be responsible for this. And just like and my biggest thing is for women, and obviously you can speak to it too, but women also have to keep in mind, and I know this sounds terrible because it's coming from a guy, but I'll let her either support me or not. But keeping in mind, hey, it's been a month, it's been 6 weeks or whatever, you know, men tend to get pent up. So it's like there are things you can do, you know, that aren't that can help out. So I would encourage that.
As would I, because again, you need to, even in that healing period, you need to be focusing on your marriage. It's not just about focusing on your body healing and learning how to take care of a whole person.
Yeah.
There's the person that came first, okay? And if you can't maintain that relationship and keep it strong, then that's something that you're going to need to refocus.
That's right.
Yeah, I would say. Oh, so you go first.
I was just gonna say slight redirect. Okay, so she said, you know, it's like this person came first. There's a wonderful book called She Comes First, and it's fantastic. When you're having sex, she comes first. It revolutionizes everything.
Dave wants to just talk about sex.
Go ahead.
It really does.
It's kind of an integral part of a marriage.
You're all welcome for that.
Yes. That's just a little bonus nugget right there.
Boner nugget. Go ahead.
No!
I was just gonna.
Okay.
Sorry.
So anyway, just keeping in mind from the new mom's perspective, yes, you're exhausted, you feel like crap, but if you don't take care of yourself, if you dress in sweats every day, if you don't fix your hair or, you know, those kinds of things, if you don't like fix yourself up, you're not going to feel like, you're not going to feel sexy.
Yeah.
So take that time. I mean, yeah, that first week, you're not going to feel like feeling sexy, but you can start going back to that pretty soon. And even if it's just as simple as taking a bath, putting on your makeup, fixing your hair, and just wearing a nice outfit and being ready for him to come home from work. And not that it's going to lead to activities for yourself, but feeling sexy yourself goes a really long way towards making him feel appreciated.
Yeah.
And to go along with that, men, obviously, you need to understand that she's going through this healing period. You need to be able to take baby and give her the time to start working on herself so she can bring herself back to that. The more time she has, the more time she has to make herself feel better, the more time she'll have to make you feel better.
Shared life duties.
Yes, absolutely. Because it is, even if the man is out at work and the woman is at home, the stigma of a stay-at-home mom doesn't do anything is false. Sometimes we have to have those relaxing days where we just don't do a lot, but like taking care of a person is a lot to deal with, especially in that newborn phase. There's a lot of constant up and down. There's a lot of care that's required for this person that can't do anything for itself.
And they can't tell you.
And they don't. Yeah. They tell you by crying, and that's stressful.
Yeah.
So, sharing in the household duties and sharing in even in the feeding and changing of the baby is really, really important for that mom to feel loved. It's very, very important.
Okay. Well, I don't know how much time. Oh, yeah, we're way over what we normally do. Okay, so we'll wrap up. But I was just going to say, to summarize, for like any marriage, whether you have kids or you're newlyweds or whatever, like there's seasons throughout your marriage. You're going to be madly in love one season. You're going to kind of not like each other in another. You're going to and there's no right or wrong way, I feel like, to do marriage. Everybody has their own thing that works. Yeah. We're just offering things that work for us.
Exactly.
We used to call it the everybody goes through the seasons of roommates and lovers.
And
it's like the worst part is when you're going through the different ones at different times. So she's a roommate, I'm a lover, and it's like that really sucks. And then eventually it comes back together and you're great, and then it goes out of balance. But you just fight through it.
The recognition of that is the key. Figure it out, work through it, get her done.
Get her done.
Literally.
Get her done, guys. We'll leave it at that.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, David, Alicia.
Okay.
Bye.